From the Mayor's office, I'm Rick Moore, along with Gloucester Mayor Carolyn Kirk. And Madam Mayor, welcome once again.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
I'm fine. Looking forward to summer, as are you, I presume.
Yes, absolutely.
Nothing like it around here.
Yeah, but we're not counting the days down till the kids get out of school.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm counting those. I'll tell you. I want to ask you a little bit about the fishing situation because it's a headliner. It's ongoing. Gloucester, you know, formerly one of the greatest fishing ports in the world.
Yeah.
And going through some difficult times that are continuing. Maybe you could give us a little thumbnail as to what's going on.
Yeah. Well, it's a really complicated issue, and it's hard to explain, but I will do a very simple explanation if I could. But the federal government regulates the industry, and they have instituted new restrictions that came into being on May 1st. So up until May 1st, you had, arguments about what was going to happen, and since May 1st, everything that we said was going to happen has happened. And basically what is happening is that the quotas for how much fish you can catch were established basically for each fishing permit, and which you could say is each fishing business or boat. And the quotas that were established are different for different species. So you might have a 50,000 quota for one species and a 100-pound quota for another species. And if you fish out that 100-pound quota, you can't fish the balance of what's left on your quota for the other species. It shuts you down. And it's called the choke species. They're managing to the lowest quota species. It's complicated,
wow.
But basically what it does is that these guys are going out, and in one trip, they're getting cut off from, because they've exhausted the quota on that one species, from all the other quota that they have for all the other species.
But when they're collecting fish, there's everything in the net, so they have to separate them, and what a pain. All right, so that makes sense.
It's a real, this is a problem. This system has worked in a single species fishery, in Alaska, for example. The groundfish fishery, which is in New England, is a multi-species fishery. And NOAA and the government have not quite figured out how to implement this management scheme in a multi-species fishery.
Now, how is Gloucester involved in fighting this issue or working on it?
Well, at the local level, we're doing everything we can to support the Gloucester fishermen. I host meetings regularly with our state senators, Bruce Tarr, and our representative, Ann Margaret Ferranti, just to get their feedback and to monitor how it's going. And then a lot of times we're the messengers back up to the government on behalf of the fishermen. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of advocacy work that we do. We also, the city joined the lawsuit that New Bedford is in, and a number of states are joining, at least their fishing industries are, up and down the East Coast. And there's a nationwide fundraising effort going on right now to raise money to defend, not defend the lawsuit, but to move forward on the lawsuit.
This seems like a silly question in the next minute and a half, but is this a case where the fishermen have to educate NOAA and those people? They really, because they don't seem to quite have a grasp on what's going on.
Well, that's been one of the frustrations is, the NOAA folks are sit in cubicles and they don't necessarily fish. And like, for example, one of the new regulations, they have to have observers on board, and it's hit or miss. It's like an air marshal. Some flights have them, some flights don't. Same thing on the fishing vessels. Some have observers, some don't. And, the fishermen tell a story of, well, they had one observer who'd never been on the open seas, and he was just hanging over the edge, puking, the whole trip. So in that case, clearly that person who was monitoring the fishermen had a big learning curve ahead of them in dealing with, the fisheries and that experience on that boat. So it's very bizarre, to say the least. And the regulatory environment that has come down on the Gloucester fishermen is obscene compared to the lack of regulatory environment on the oil companies i.e. BP.
Yeah, you think?
And that is completely bewildering. You know, why are they coming down the Gloucester fishermen with a heavy hand? And meanwhile, you know, you have this gusher in the Gulf just destroying the habitat and the livelihoods and the fishing grounds off of, you know, the Gulf of, you know, Louisiana, Florida. All those states are impacted.
Yeah, it is amazing. Well, how about next time we talk about something maybe a little bit more upbeat? Maybe we'll take a look and see what's going on. Summertime in Gloucester,
Okay.
that kind of thing? Is
Yep.
that okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
From the Mayor's office, that's Gloucester Mayor Carolyn Kirk. I'm Rick Moore for MSO Web Radio.